Let's talk about getting your record deal. What were your feelings when you got a few refusals in the beginning?
Well, we had a really tough time getting a record deal. I think we were refused by every label
known to man
in the universe.
We even created our own label and
didn't sign ourselves. Yeah. And then we went through a whole other round and got refused again by every label. So luckily at that time we were starting to distribute our music online, and we started to build a fan base all over the country and all over the world, people that liked our music, and they kind of gave us some of the inspiration to continue going, even though all the labels didn't believe in it. We believed in it. We thought we had something really special, and we were making a type of music that hadn't really been done yet. So we just kind of kept doing it, and eventually
honestly, if it wasn't for the internet and the fact that we could get our music out, we could go to other bands, message boards and chat with people, and bands that we liked, we'd go to their websites and we'd talk to people and be like, hey, if you like these guys, come check us out, and we started building our fan base that way. So we felt like, even though we were getting turned down by a lot of people, we felt like okay, we're not crazy, we're doing this, something good is happening here, because if it wasn't, we wouldn't be spending 10 hours a day using Rob's apartment as a packing facility and stuffing these things with all these compact discs and stickers and letters from the band and t-shirts, and showing up with literally carts stacked to our noses with boxes, sending out to kids all over the world. So that definitely helped us keep going and kept us motivated and kept us believing that we were doing something that was different from what everybody else was doing.
Do you actually remember your audition?
Do I remember my audition?
Yeah.
I remember my auditions.
Several ones.
I would say that's I understand now that I'm in the band and I've been with these guys for the last 11 years. I get it. I understand. No one's really changed in the sense that these guys take what they're doing very seriously, and so I remember getting a call from a friend of mine who used to represent an old band of mine, saying that there was this great young group of guys that had this really great sound, and all they needed was that voice that was going to help them complete the puzzle. And I had never really auditioned. The only time I'd ever auditioned to be in a band was when I was 14, and so from 14 to 23, I had never auditioned. I was always the person that people were coming to audition for, and so it was a different experience for me, because in my mind I was doing these guys a favor, and I wasn't the one who called them. They were calling me, and so it was strange for me to think of it as me doing an audition, because I didn't go seek them out, which was the interesting thing. So when I got there and turned over the tape, I had my vocals on it. Everybody liked it. We seemed to get along pretty well, even though we were strangers. And I got to watch some other people do their auditions, and it was pretty funny.
Yeah, do you remember when Chester did his audition, there was another guy, because we had a little practice room in Hollywood, and we didn't have a waiting area or anything, so you had to come into the actual practice studio, and the guy that was going after Chester was inside the studio while we auditioned Chester to see. We
were already rehearsing at this point.
Yeah.
I'd already been basically learning the set. We were writing together. But they had already had all these appointments with these other people, so they were going to do the fair thing and make sure everybody that they had made appointments with got the appointment, and that way they could make the most educated decision they could, which I understand. But here I am, going what are you guys even calling people for? So it was pretty funny, yeah.
The guy basically heard Chester sing and just said, "I don't even need to audition. If you guys don't go with this guy, you're crazy." And then he walked out of the room.
Now, when you started out writing the first songs and playing the first shows, did you ever have the feeling that you belonged to a certain scene, or was it just you doing your thing?
From our perspective, we always felt like we were doing our own thing. I think it was easy for the world to kind of group us in with other bands, and it's just a tendency that people have. I think a lot of it's just if you go to a record store, where do you go to find our record? What section of the store is it in? So yeah, we always, even though we were grouped in with other bands, we always liked to kind of think and make music that we thought was different, and there was elements in it that actually were different than anything else that was out there. And that's, I think, one of the main goals of the band musically, is to always push ourselves to evolve, to make music that we haven't heard before, that we haven't made before. And it's a challenge for us, and it's really tough to try and make a heavy song or something that hits really hard without using the most obvious choices to accomplish that. And we like challenging ourselves to do that. So we've done that throughout all of the records that we've made, and that's what we want to continue to do.
There's sometimes you come across the term revolution when it comes to your music, like for the Road to Revolution live record and the Project Revolution tour. Is there anything in particular you're revolting against, or is do you think that music can cause a revolution actually?
Yeah, I think that for us, when we use the word revolution, I think that's a pretty charged word, and so I think automatically people think of revolt in some way, like rising against something, and taking a stand or something like that. But when we use it, we're actually talking about, like, you know, in terms of Project Revolution, it was like, okay, let's make a touring festival that's not just a metal festival, that's not just a rock festival, it's not just a hip hop festival. It kind of takes bands that are pushing the envelope of what modern music sounds like, and pushing the envelope of what, you know, what a live performance can be, or, you know, who can play together. You know, I've noticed from being involved in touring and all the touring throughout our career that a lot of bands are really focused on making sure they tour with the band that they feel is the right fit for their vibe. You know what I mean? And so for us, it was like, we just want to play with good bands. Like, I don't care what kind of music you make. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if Johnny Cash were alive and he said, I want to take Linkin Park out on tour, I would think that we would be able to play with him. You know what I mean? We really truly feel like we can get on a stage and share a stage with anybody, regardless of what kind of music they make. And I think, you know, when we play a show with Jay-Z one day and then go play a show with Metallica the next day, there isn't something that feels off about either one of those scenarios. So we try to use that in Project Revolution as something that we're bringing a lot of different kinds of bands. We're like revolutionizing, who are revolutionary in terms of what they're doing and how they think and how they approach a live show or their music. You know?
The thing is, I interviewed you for the first record and then every other record, maybe 5-6 times altogether. And it's really amazing how you maintain to, be grounded and down to earth. I mean, considering how many records you've sold, a change of personality would be almost normal, but you didn't change. What keeps you on the ground?
For me, I mean, I like my I love being a family person. I love being a dad, and I like being a husband, and that's the stuff that keeps me in the perspective that's, I think, a healthier point of view. You know, I think that's, I don't know if that's the way it is for everybody else, but we all strive for having pretty normal lives. Like, we really, I think the only thing that is way different from almost anybody else that we know is the fact that we just get to make music for a living. Everything else is, you know, we try to do everything as normal as possible. So it's I think it's definitely a conscious effort to try to maintain normalcy.
It's very modest. I mean, music for a living, that's quite a living.
Yeah, I think we won the lottery, is being able to make music for a living, and it's amazing to be able to do something you truly love and get paid to do it, and be able to continue to make more music as a result of the success of the last albums. And as Chester was saying, I think for the most part, I mean, we're normal guys, and we like living like pretty uneventful lifestyle, and on the road we go to great lengths to make it seem just more mellow, normal, as close to being at home as we can make it.